Okay, let's do some team previews. I was intending to start with the very worst team in baseball, but I want to finish with the American League West. We are a Seattle Mariner channel, so let's finish with the division the Seattle Mariners are in. So the team that I believe is the worst team in baseball is going to have to wait a little while. That has nothing to do with their talent. I think we all know I'm talking about the A's. So I'll go with the second worst team, and this is subjective. This is not based on win totals. This is not based on anything. This is just my own personal list. And in my personal estimation, the second worst team in baseball is the Colorado Rockies. They were not very good last year. I do not think they're going to be very good this year. Let's go over what happened last year. In fact, they went 59 and 103. That is a lot of games behind the Los Angeles Dodgers for the lead in the NL West. Talk about what they lost. Not much. Brett Suter is gone. Mariner legend Chris Flexen is gone, and Chase Anderson is gone. The replacements for those guys, Jalen Beeks claimed off waivers from the Tampa Bay Rays. Cal Quantrill trade with the Cleveland Guardians. Signed Dakota Hudson from St. Louis. And they also brought in Jacob Stallings to be their backup catcher. Not a whole heck of a lot, which isn't surprising. This is a team that very much knows that it's in a rebuild. And for good reason. They are a long way away from contention. There is some reason for optimism in the long term. But in the short term, I think this is a team that is in a lot of trouble. Let's talk about some of those positives first. Okay, those positives. First of all, Colorado's awesome. Denver's one of my favorite cities, so could be worse in that regard. As for the actual baseball players, Nolan Jones might be a star. He sure played like it for the majority of the season. Rookie full first season, 106 games. He hit 297, 389, 542, 20 homers, and 20 stolen bases. Traded from the Guardians before the start of last season. They gave him a chance, and he ran with it. And he was really good to finish the year as well. This was a guy who got better as the season went on. It wouldn't shock me if this is his peak, but if this is his peak, that's a really good baseball player. He was over 4 wins according to Baseball Reference. There's a lot to like. His patience at the plate has always been a strength, but he's kind of learned the assertive factor. I think he was a little too passive as he got into the higher levels, maybe relying on walks a little bit too much. He walked 53 times in 424 plate appearances. That'll play. That'll definitely play. It wouldn't shock me if he was closer to the 70 or 80 walk range. He's going to strike out. He played in 106 games and he struck out 126 times. But I think Nolan Jones is a significant building block. And there's a couple other guys here who I think have a chance to be building blocks as well, especially Ezekiel Tovar. Numbers aren't great. 253, 287, 408, 15 homers, 11 stolen bases. It was great to see the pop start to show up. It helps that you play in one of the most friendly confines, but I wasn't sure if he was a 15 homer guy. Those numbers, I think, are a little misleading. I think he was better than those numbers suggest, especially in the second half of the season. Was impressed by the adjustments that Tovar made. Only 21 years old. I think he's going to be a nice 4 to 5 win shortstop for a very long time, and you can do a heck of a lot worse than that. Other positives offensively, Chris Bryant. I mean, he's not been great. He was really bad last year, but I still think there's still some magic left in that bat. Ryan McMahon, 240, 322, 431. It's a solid offensive player. It's not spectacular, but it'll play. Brendan Rodgers, when healthy, has shown some flashes of brilliance. He hasn't been as good as I was hoping. This was a guy that I ranked consistently as a top 5 prospect. Hasn't been anywhere near that. I still do believe that Brendan Rodgers has a chance to be a really nice, solid player. Brenton Doyle, I have some real question marks about the hit. His weak contact was among the worst in baseball, but he can fly, and he is a terrific defensive player. Just can go get it in center with the absolute best of them. I think that's something to absolutely hang your hat on a little bit here. Elias Diaz is a solid catcher. I'm kind of surprised he's still in the Rockies organization, to be completely honest with you, just because I think you could trade him and get a pretty nice little return, a 32-year-old catcher for a team that is at least a couple years away from contending. Yeah, I think that's it wouldn't shock me if he's playing somewhere else by July. Solid offensive player. Elajeros Montero has shown flashes of brilliance. Um, we talked about McMahon. Charlie Blackman is still, he's nowhere near the player he was 6 years ago or so, but he's, a cromulent DH. You can do a lot worse. One of the reasons I think you can actually be really excited about this Rockies team, not for this year, but they've got a pretty good little minor league system. Yeah, like I was saying, sorry about the weird pause there, but Adael Amador, a top 50 prospect in my mind. Yanquiel Fernandez, a top 75 prospect. Jordan Beck, right around the top 100. All of those guys have a chance, I think, to be contributors in right around 2025. 2026, maybe a little more likely for a couple of those guys. Chase Dollander is a solid pitching prospect. Dylan Jorge, I think, is one of the more underrated shortstop prospects. And you've got guys like Zach Veen, who has not performed up to the levels that we were hoping for yet, but is still a young player. Benny Montgomery still has a chance to be a solid little player. Colorado is building something, but it's going to take a long time to build it because we're going to talk about this pitching staff. And so right now, if the season started today, the projected starting rotation for the Colorado Rockies is Kyle Freeland, Cal Quantrill, Austin Gomer, Dakota Hudson, and either Peter Lambert, Ryan Feltner, or Noah Davis. That's the worst rotation in baseball. It may not be all that close. Like, all due respect to Oakland, I'll take what Oakland's going to put out for a rotation every single day of the week. And that's before even considering where this team plays and how the ball just jumps off the bat. Kyle Freeland should be no one's ace. Kyle Freeland is a solid back end starter. The fact that he's the ace by a considerable margin, that's not going to work. That's not going to work for anybody except for maybe the Rockies hoping that they're going to get a high draft pick next year. It is worth pointing out Germain Marquez expected to return from injury right around the start of the All-Star break. He's their best starter, but he is dealing with significant health issue stuff and has not shown a ton of consistency. Antonio Santatella, also a guy who could be making starts for them, returning from injury. I'm not counting on a whole heck of a lot. That rotation is garbage. Absolute garbage. You look at the bullpen, Jalen Beeks will probably be a multi-inning reliever for them who could have some success. Has had success in that role in Tampa Bay, but wasn't very good last year. You're looking at Justin Lawrence as the closer. No. Jake Bird, Tyler Kinley, Nick Mears, Daniel Bard. They drafted Anthony Molina. I'm a little curious about Molina as a Rule 5 guy who's put up some pretty good numbers, but this is a bad bullpen. On paper, anyway. On paper, it is hard for me to say that this is not the worst pitching staff in baseball. And again, you cannot help but ignore is not the right word. You cannot help but remember that they're playing in a bandbox or sandbox or whatever the heck the term is. They are bad. And it's also worth pointing out, as bad as this pitching staff was, I believe by WRC, the Colorado Rockies was the worst offense in baseball as well. Whew. I mean, if you take Nolan Jones off of that team, we're talking about a AAA level club. It's just really bad. Really, really bad. So to answer this question, I'm going to ask it for every team. Are the Colorado Rockies better than the Seattle Mariners? No. Are the Colorado Rockies better than anyone? Maybe. Just the Oakland Athletics, though. That's the only team that I'm putting in this tier. They're awful. Their chance for success is going to be a lot of luck. Nolan Jones developing from a 4 to 5 win player to like an 8 or 9 win player. I can't see that happening as good as he is. I just don't see that. Chris Bryant being completely healthy and being a Chris Bryant MVP type player. And even with those things, you're talking still about a team that you're looking at like 50 to 55 wins. Maybe this team is good enough to get to 70, but that's asking an awful lot. Yeah. The Colorado Rockies are bad. I don't know what the over under is for their win loss stuff, but I would be willing to bet the under, assuming it's not like 50. It's every team's going to luck into like 50 to 55 wins. Even the dreadful Oakland A's are going to luck into right around that win total, and maybe 60 to 65 if everything goes right. Yeah. Do you agree? Is this team really terrible? I think you probably do. I don't like it. I have a lot of friends who like the Rockies. I have a lot of friends who write about the Rockies or talk about the Rockies. But oof, magoof, to say the least. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Either way, please hit like and subscribe on the video. Tomorrow, I believe I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you can probably guess who it is. It won't be the A's, like I said, because we will save that AL West till the end. But yeah, Colorado. I think I need to go take a drink and wash some of this out.